on, baby. You're such a good boy. Great escape artists they are. Hey y'all, so I'm coming out today and I'm going to pick what I have in the garden right now, and we're in the middle of what I like to call the waiting period. And it's where your harvest is just starting to come in. You're just starting to get little onesies and twosies. And it's not quite enough to do a full kitchen day, a full kitchen prep day for canning and preserving, but it's just enough to where you have some food and you need to do something with. So today I'm gonna go ahead and collect that, and then we're gonna go inside and I'm just gonna kind of show you what I do for food prep for in preparation to can, and then food prep in preparation to freeze, and then also to cook our meal tonight. So I can't wait to show y'all what I do, and I hope y'all learn a little bit and have fun a lot of it. So let's get started. So the first thing I'm gonna get today is the onions. I actually harvested the full swoop of onions about a week ago, but I left these guys on because they had shot up and had a bloom. And they're really great for the pollinators, and so I just kind of let them hang out. But to note, just so you know, when an onion shoots up its bloom stalk, it doesn't necessarily mean that the onion is not food that you can use. It just means that at that point it doesn't store very well. So I kind of let these guys hang out for a little while because I knew I was going to use them in fresh eating. And so what I'm going to do to prep for that now is I'll take and cut off the bloom stalk right at the top. And if you'll see, this isn't really a good example, but there's still life in there that they do. So I'll just go ahead and cut off the roots like that. And then I'll go ahead and process this in the food processor. I'll chop it up really small to add to salsa, or I will either chop it up really small and put it in the dehydrator for onion powder. All right, so now I'm gonna go and I'm just gonna go throughout my whole garden and just pick through what's ready and just harvest it to prep. Look, is that not the cutest thing you ever did see? So whenever I harvest chives and I don't have any string or anything, I always take the tallest one and flip it and then tie it around like this, and then I cut right above the chive, or right below where I tied it, sorry. And it's not the best solution, but it helps me not have a mess in my bag. Let's just lay it down in there like that. Okay, so I'm gonna go and take these to my compost pile. Which really means to me, there's so many different ways to compost, but for me personally, I do what's called a cold compost. And essentially that means I pile it all up. I'll put some green stuff in there, which means like this. I put some brown stuff in there, which means like leaves and cardboard and things like that. I do not toss. I don't do a lot of effort in it because I haven't really found a method that I feel like I need to be super intentional with, and I don't have the brain space for it, basically, is where I'm at right now. That's just where I'm at right now. Ta-da! So this crate right here, it doesn't have a bottom. So I can just lift it up once this pile has gotten to the top, and we'll just lift it up and we'll scoot over and put it down right here, and then that's where we'll start again, and I'll start pulling from that pile. All right, now that I've got everything, let's go inside and see what to do next. Kitchen days are a little bit chaotic, so it's going to be a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But right now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm separating and trimming up my chives to put in the dehydrator. So I'm going to have the dehydrator go in with my chives and some of my onions and some of my basil while I'm doing the roasted veggies for dinner tonight. So I'm just kind of going through and I'm picking out the dry tips of my chives, and that just happens. We're going through a drought, like a heat wave right now, and that kind of happens with inconsistent watering, and there's really not a big deal about it. But you do want to, I do want to make sure that I just pick the, kind of keep the good stuff for processing. I'm just gonna try not to cut my finger off. I'm not a professional cut, y'all, I'm just saying. So I have, this is my little dehydrator tray, and this is the little insert that goes in there so that stuff doesn't fall through. And so when I'm doing just little bits like this, I just kind of go through and cut it up as much as I can quickly, because I'm not trying to do a big cut or something. And then I just spread it out on this little tray, because once it's dehydrated, we'll actually go and chop them more. And the veggies that are not going in my veggie dinner, I'm going to dehydrate. That's pretty much my plan for today. So I'm going to use the zucchini, I'm going to use the squash, a couple of the peppers that I have, the tomatoes, but my hot peppers I'm going to dehydrate down and use those for powders. So I'm actually going to take and prep those by cutting the tops off and then cutting them in half and then de-seeding them like that. And then these will go into the dehydrator. And I'll put those directly onto the tray, like that. Now I'm going to take and slice up my zucchini, just like I'm making zucchini chips. Pre-cutting and dehydrating your zucchini like this actually helps for several different meal preps. My particular goal is to do chips, but like on these bigger ones that I'm scared to cut in half. This will probably be like a scalloped potatoes type recipe where I'll just lay it in the pan, line the bottom of the pan, and use cream and cheese and all that and make like a cheesy type situation. My family likes that. Or like a layered casserole, like a gluten-free lasagna type deal. I'll lay them out and do it like that. A lot of people will slice their zucchinis long ways, but like I said earlier in this video, this is a thinking ahead prep type deal where I've only got onesies and twosies, and what am I going to do with them? And right now what I have is the dehydrator and my oven, and so I'm cooking a fresh meal and then I'm prepping for later on. So what I'll do is I'll dehydrate these and then put them in a baggie and put them in the freezer, and I can just pop them out for a quick base of a meal coming up. So that's what I'm doing. Okay, so earlier in the video I told you about harvesting the onions that I had. In our region where we're at, it's like 7B, 8A, it's debatable, but it's south of Atlanta. We can generally
So I live in a house with lots of people, and that's just life. That's just real life. So we're filming in the middle of my kitchen, and it's the center hub, and so we have, you know, people hacking up a lung downstairs. But anyway, the reason why I am doing what I'm doing today with my onions is because when I planted them, we had a crazy spring. It was nice and chill and cold, and then it got really hot, and then we got cold again, and then it got really hot, and so the onions went to flower, and I showed the blooms earlier, and so that means that inside the core of the onion, there's still the stalk part where you can see it, where the bloom stalk came out, and not all of them did that, but you can really see it. And this one is very hard, and so really that doesn't mean much except for the fact that they're not going to store. So that means that I can't put them in a dark place like you generally would with storing root veggies, because they'll rot, because it still has live matter, live pieces in there, and it'll either sprout or it'll just rot out, and it just isn't very useful for me in the curing stage. Like this onion is a good example to show you. This is a good onion to store. It has a nice layer, it's nice and firm, there's no life in there at all. It dried out completely when I cured it. So this one I actually could store. What I'm going to do to process them is I'm going to dehydrate some to grind them down to powder, and then I'm also going to chop some up, put them in the food processor, let it grind, put it in a baggie and freeze it. And then with that I can have chopped onions to add to soups and stews and meals and tacos and all the things. And then I can have onion powder to add as a seasoning, which is what kind of my goal is for this year, is to stock up my spice rack. I'm going to cut up into rings, so I'll probably save my small ones for that, but I'll cut up into rings and I'll put them on the dehydrator. I have 3 trays left of the type of dehydrator, which I'll tell you about in just a few. I would much rather preserve my food at this point as a powder to make seasonings, because that's what I know how to use. I'm growing for preservation this year. Okay, so the dehydrator that I have is a Nesco Gardenmaster food dehydrator and jerky. We got this off of Amazon. I'm not really sure. I've had it for about a year. But I really like it. It has 8 trays that go with it. And then it's got these little things that you can use. Anyway, so you just take and you stack up your trays. Literally, this is all you do. You put the top on like this, and you take all your trays over here, and then you turn it on to about, 145, 160. There's like a little booklet that comes with the dehydrator, kind of guides you through. I'm just kind of winging it, and what I do is I'll just turn it on and just check the trays to see how they're going, and then push the button, and it just does like that. Alright, so today was a day in the kitchen here at my garden, and I am new at this. Like, I'm just being real, just being honest. This isn't my strength. This isn't something that I want to necessarily do, but I just really feel like with the direction of my heart and what God's laid on my heart is we need to learn how to preserve for sustainability. And I have several years of growing experience to grow to eat fresh, but this is the first year that I've really ever taken the effort to move past fresh eating. So I want to invite you guys to come alongside of me and mess up when I mess up, be here when I make mistakes, and be here to learn alongside of me. I am not an expert in this. I don't have a lot of tips and tricks in the kitchen. Like I said earlier in the video, I'm literally the 5th person down the line in my family to cook in the kitchen. But I do want to have an obedient heart and to provide for my family and to grow food in such a way to where we can be fed outside of the season. I need to make sure that I'm turning my waiting room into a classroom. So one of my favorite YouTubers, Jess from Roots and Refuge, I'm sure y'all know who she is. She's pretty awesome. But she always says that. She always says to turn your waiting room into a classroom. And I've always been intimidated by the kitchen. I've always been intimidated with food preparation, with canning, with dehydrating, with seed saving even. And I just feel like that's just fear. And when we walk through things and God lays a burden on our hearts, if we are not obedient to that burden, then we are in disobedience with Him. And I feel like that God has really put it on my heart to pay attention to this and to move forward in this. And I thought that by doing this and bringing you guys alongside of me, like I said earlier, that you can experience some of what I go through this video and through this series, and maybe that can help you walk through your fear. Because I am fearful of the kitchen. I don't like to touch raw meat. I don't like to I don't know how to come up with recipes. I'm not very creative. I'm straight up, I could eat beans and cornbread for the rest of my life and be completely fine with it. But my family doesn't want to do that. And so I need to honor God by being obedient and to move forward with the sustainability and that comes with the garden. And I hope that you guys learned some things today. And I hope that what you did learn was that it's not as intimidating as it thinks. Like, I originally had a plan coming into this kitchen that I was going to do certain things and I was going to food process and I was going to do all this, but really I just ran out of time. And because I want to respect my family's time, because I am 5th in line in the kitchen, I had to become creative. I am very encouraged about what I did today. Today was the first time I've ever tried any of that in any type of manner straight out of the garden. And so I'm so glad that you guys came alongside of me, and I hope that this gives you just a little bit of encouragement to go and walk through this by yourself and do it too. Drop some comments below and let me know what you think. Make sure you like the video and subscribe, because this is going to be an adventure that we're going to walk through all season. And then let me know if you have any ideas, or let me know if you have any tips. Like I said, I'm very new at this. I'm just trying to be transparent to let you guys walk alongside of me. So I hope you guys have a blessed day, and I hope y'all learn to be just a little bit braver.